Do you ever get the feeling you're not as good as you could be? That no matter how much you practice, you aren't making any progress? After playing the violin for 30 years and teaching hundreds of students, I found the 11 worst left-hand mistakes people make. And today I will show you how to fix those mistakes step by step, so that you can play the violin beautifully. And the first mistake is not using the fourth finger. I will see a lot of students play the haute jaw, for example, like this. This is mostly because it's what most people learn with the Suzuki method, but it's wrong. What you want to do instead is to start practicing the fourth finger very early. And what it means is that every possible chance to use the fourth finger, use it. So when you are playing a piece, instead of thinking it's easier with an open string, just use your fourth finger to train it and make it strong. Because later on you will need it anyway, but if you don't start using it a lot early on, it will be very difficult to learn it later. And parallel to that, you want to train it systematically using exercise like those one. 3-4, 2-4, 1-4. And so on. Then the second mistake is not moving the elbow. So this is, for example, a scale on all 4 strings, and most people will play it like this. Something like that. And basically what they are doing is that by each string change, they are moving the wrist like this and changing the whole position of the hand. This makes it very difficult to play systematically the right note, because on each string you now have a different hand position. So what you want to do instead is to keep the exact same perfect position on every string. For that, you will move the elbow on every string. G string, D string, A string, E string. This is the only thing that will move from string to string. Everything else stays exactly the same. And by the way, I did all those mistakes. Most of my students did those mistakes too. And because of that, I can tell you that you can correct them. And mistake number 3 is lifting the fingers. So let's look at a one-string scale example. For example, this one that our students in the Violinacademy learn by level 2. And the problem is that most people will play this scale like that. Instead, what you do is letting the finger on the string all the time, like that. Because actually, what you see is that we need, again, to play the same fingers. But if you remove them, then you will need to find the same note again later. What you want to do instead is to play in the most effective way, trying to remove any unnecessary movement. And by letting your finger every time you can on the string, it will greatly improve your intonation. And if you want to learn to play the violin beautifully, we are organizing a free violin masterclass. You can register with the link under this video. So now there are a lot of very big mistakes you will see, and the number 4 is practicing the left hand with pieces. When you study how the best violinists worldwide learn and master the violin, and especially when you study what the best violin teachers in the world teach them, what you really learn is that every one of them spend at least 50% of their time doing technique. And what it means is that instead of trying to master the violin by practicing a lot of pieces, what they did was practice some basic exercises, from the simplest one to the most complicated one. For example, in the Violinacademy, by level 1, our students will learn only very simple 2-note exercises on the D string. And only later on, by level 3, will they really start doing 1-octave exercises. Like, for example, this scale. and later on the full 4 strings, like we saw previously with this first position scale on all 4 strings. Then mistake number 5 is placing the hand too low. That's especially a problem for the 4th finger. So most people will play until it looks like this. And the 4th finger will be always too low. And although it looks really stretched. Okay, over we'll play until we do. So here there are 2 mistakes actually. The first one is that the hand is too low in this direction. What you want instead is bring the hand a little more in your direction so that you can put the 4th finger on the string a little bit curved. And then put the other finger on the string. Instead of what most people do, that is putting first the 1st finger on the string and then all the other one. Because when you start with the 1st finger, then always the 4th finger is too stretched. And at the same time, you really want to keep your 4th finger at all time above the strings like that, instead of having it here, for example. That will really allow you to play the 4th finger without any difficulty. Then mistake number 6 is not articulating the fingers. So if you play on some time, it sounds like this. That's very often because you are not articulating the finger enough with the left hand. So what means articulating? What it means is just the movement that you do when you take the finger on the string and pull it off. And most people move the finger too slowly, putting the finger gently on the string. You don't want to put the finger gently on the string, you really want to bring it with speed on the string. And then lift it with speed. Instead of you want to do that will make sure that every note sounds crystal clear. Then one of the biggest mistakes is repeating without calibrating. Most people, when they have difficulties with something with the left hand, they will just repeat it again and again and over again. But the problem is that they didn't calibrate each note before. So with calibrating, what I mean is first, really tune every note so that you know this is the right note. Because if you repeat but the whole time you are not playing the right note, you are just automating the wrong things. There are different ways of calibrating, but 2 of the best are just of comparing the note with your open strings, trying to match it, or listen to the resonance of the note by lifting the bow. And listening how long the note continues to sound after you lifted the bow. If it's short, it's probably that the note is not good. Then I try a little bit higher. And now the sound stays very long. And basically you should calibrate only with methods that involve you using your hearing. For example, never use finger tape on the violin to show you where to put the fingers, and never use a tuner to tell you exactly if the note is right or wrong. At the same time, you should not do mistake number 8, practicing with a fake vibrato. I will see a lot by students that are a lot more advanced, they will always play like this. Vibrating very slightly every note, but it's not a real vibrato, it's just something annoying the whole time that's hiding the real intonation. So when you practice your intonation, and anyway, even if you can do vibrato, when you practice 90% of the time, it should be without any vibrato. That means like that. Instead of so that you can very clearly recognize every note. Then a very difficult point for the left hand are string crossing. And here you should not do mistakes number 9. Let us see one concrete example with an arpeggio of F major. This is something that our students learn at level 4 of the Violinacademy. And here how most people play it, lifting the finger on every note. Instead, what you want to do is this. Here, what I did instead was to let my finger on the strings. Especially here, it makes no sense to lift your second finger when you will need it anyway a few notes later. And at the same time, especially when you need to play the fourth finger afterwards, it is way easier if you let the previous finger on the string and remove it only after you started playing the next note. That means my second finger will stay on the string till here, and I will remove it only here. So now let's see some super important mistake number 10. And it's something more basic, but that a lot of people are doing, and it's squeezing the violin between the thumb and fourth finger. And the problem with that is that it will be impossible later on for you to make a real vibrato. And at the same time, it will be impossible for you to make shifting, because your hand will be blocked in the first position. So what you want to do instead is letting the violin rest on a sort of V that you will do with your hand. And then this V comes under the violin and the violin rests on it, without the need to squeeze the violin sideways. A good test to see if it's really working is to try to make a shift like that. If it's not working or make it means you are holding the violin way too strongly with your hand. And then one last very easy to correct mistake is mistake number 11, holding the violin too low. And the problem with that is that the bow will slide the whole time in this direction. So you want to make sure to hold the violin high. And at the same time, you will ensure that the violin stays more stable here. And your sound will be more stable at the same time. But don't worry, you could correct every one of those mistakes by learning the violin correctly, step by step with the right method.